julep, pop 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 julep, pop 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 julep, pop pop pop.
Shall we? Amazing. So just to reiterate, interactive, feel free to chuck up a hand, ask a question, whatever you like. But without further ado, let's do intros. I'm Natalie. I'm the Brand Partnerships and Marketing Manager at CoinJar, which is Australia's longest running cryptocurrency exchange. So ever since 2013, we've enabled over 650,000 users in Australia and the UK to be able to buy, sell, send, and even spend over 50 cryptocurrencies on our platform. So as a crypto exchange, we are looking to launch our Web3 wallet in Q1, Q2 next year. And as part of that, we are in discussions with several top 10 Australian brands on their Web3 strategy, aiming to become the Web3 wallet of choice. So with this preso, I'm trying to distill some of the insights and discussions that I have with these brands when teaching them about Web3. So I'd like to start off with a quote by Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs said at an Apple conference in 1997 that you've got to start with the customer experience and work backward to the technology. You can't start with the technology and then try and figure out how you're going to sell it. And this quote is relevant for two reasons. First one being there was an academic study by Lund University in Sweden recently looking at the ways in which brands are entering the metaverse. And basically the study found that FOMO was actually a key driver for brands entering the metaverse. You know, they missed the boat on e-commerce, they missed the boat on Web2 and social media, and now they're seeing Web3, and a lot of these brands are scrambling to create NFT projects just for the sake of doing it. Now, if there's one thing I'd like you guys to kind of glean from my presentation or take away from my presentation today is don't just enter Web3 for the sake of doing it. Don't make an NFT project just for the sake of doing it, similar to what Pepsi, even Walmart has done. I don't know if you guys are across Walmart, but they decided to come up with a kids-friendly metaverse where kids can look at these shoppable Walmart recipes. What kid wants to fucking do that? You know what I mean? So don't be like Walmart, don't be like Pepsi. The second point as to why this quote is relevant. Now, Steve Jobs was brilliant in his product design. You know, when you buy an iPhone, right, you're not purchasing an iPhone just to have the latest tech or to be able to put the 0.5 filter on your camera, right? You're purchasing an iPhone because you're buying into the ecosystem. Because it seamlessly integrates with your AirPods, your MacBook Pro, your iCloud, everything is seamless and part of this ecosystem that Steve Jobs has created at Apple. And similarly, for brands who are looking to enter into Web3, the kind of approach that I really urge them to look at Web3 from is this lens of an ecosystem. How does Web3 relate to your existing ecosystem of value that you provide to your users? So, bit of a spiel there, but basically we're going to start off with some amazing customer experiences in Web3 and then from there reverse engineer backwards to the technology. So starting off with Mecca. Mecca commissioned an Australian NFT artist, Michaela Stafford, to create these beautiful biological immersive artworks that were translated into augmented reality. So a Mecca shopper could go into store, there would be a QR code, they scan the QR code, and then all of a sudden you've got this augmented reality layer on top of the existing store experience. It's also available as a Spark AR filter as well for anyone who can't get in store. And the two reasons why that this is so effective is A, the artwork beautifully captures Mecca's brand colors, but it also kind of encapsulates Mecca's approach to skincare and beauty, trying to synthesize, science, technology, and aesthetics all in one. Next up, we've got NBA Top Shop. So I can't talk about Web3 and brands entering the space without mentioning NBA, who are arguably up there as the gold standard for brands entering the space. So NBA was a massive early adopter of Web3. They began work with Dapper Labs way back in 2018. And so what they did, they basically got these NBA moments, which were actually NFTs, each varying in rarity. and created like a peer-to-peer marketplace, so users could kind of trade like collectible moments. Wildly successful in terms of commercial outcomes. NBA has definitely led the way for the sporting vertical to follow suit. Here he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, wildly successful in terms of commercial outcomes, billions of dollars traded volume, as well as millions of NBA Top Shot holders. Next up, we've got L'Oreal. So L'Oreal commissioned 5 female and non-binary artists to create NFT artworks inspired by a particular shade of red in their new lipstick collection. And L'Oreal, when looking at the Web3 space, noticed the lack of diversity and inclusion, hence why they specifically commissioned 5 female non-binary artists. And the floor price for these NFTs started at like $1,500. 100% of the primary sales were retained by the artist, and then all secondary sales, so by secondary I mean when NFT holders decide to sell on OpenSea or some other marketplace, all the sales and royalties generated from that was donated to the Women of Worth philanthropy. So great example of a brand that's trying to test and experiment the space. Next up, you have Reddit. So Reddit recently Trojan horsed over 3 million people into Web3 recently, and most people had no fucking idea they were even interacting with crypto or blockchain. So 3 million people since July have purchased NFT digital collectible Reddit avatars. And to put that in perspective, 3 million people, that's double OpenSea's user base. Got someone at the door. And the reason why this project did so well, or why Reddit did so well, is that it completely avoided crypto jargon altogether. You know, it's a Reddit vault, not a Polygon wallet. It's a digital collectible, not an NFT. And similarly, Reddit community points, it's Reddit community points, not ERC20 tokens. They didn't overpromise on utility, like a lot of other NFT projects do, and overall have helped onboard and help mainstream adoption for the space. Next up, we have Artifact. Artifact is a Web3 native studio that recently got acquired by Nike. So this studio, they started off with Clone X NFT collection, which was a 3D avatar. And from there, they've kind of expanded out into creating phygital products. So recently, if you were a Clone X holder of that particular NFT, you were able to purchase a $250 Nike hoodie NFT, which was like a physical Nike product. And then on the back, there was a QR code with which basically had an augmented reality layer on top of the existing physical product. So yeah, the studio has done like a number of really amazing collaborations with Takashi Murakami, who's also worked with Kanye West. They've basically made everything kind of open source, so all digital files for people to kind of co-create and build on top of. And this acquisition by Nike has been also wildly successful. So I think it's generated just shy of $185 million for Nike as a revenue stream. Now, why were these initiatives successful? You cannot read that, I'm so sorry. Starting off with community. I'm not going to talk about this too much because Mads will, but basically in Web3, the way that brands approach community has to be wildly different. So traditionally brands kind of approach marketing as you get your sales and marketing team. It's very much a top-down approach where you push advertising messages onto your consumers in the hope that they purchase it. In contrast, in Web3, it's way more of a grassroots bottom-up approach where you kind of empower your community to co-create with your brand. And brands that have embraced this community aspect and empowered their users to kind of co-create have seen a lot of success. Then you've got ownership in IP. Something that's also quite different in the Web3 space is that a lot of NFT projects, when you purchase that NFT, it gives you full commercial usage rights. So take CryptoPunks, for example. CryptoPunks.
Yeah.
So CryptoPunks is the most traded NFT collection, I would argue. If you ignore wash trading of me bits. And basically, when you have that NFT, that means you can do whatever you want with that artwork. So similarly, Bored Ape Yacht Club, there's been a few Bored Ape holders who've gone on to create restaurants using the artwork as intellectual property. And CryptoPunks actually kind of collaborated with Tiffany & Co. recently. So Tiffany & Co., if you were a CryptoPunk holder, you could then choose to mint your CryptoPunk as Tiffany & Co. jewelry. It sold out within, I think, 22 minutes and generated like $12.5 million for Tiffany & Co. So my key point here is when you enable your users to have full intellectual property and be kind of co-creators of your NFT project, you can see these really awesome kind of brand velocity and like acceleration of network effects. Decentralized branding. This is an interesting one because I think it's the most difficult for brands to kind of conceptualize. So brands, as mentioned before, are used to having full control over the brand voice, brand personality, messaging, communication. But in decentralized branding and in Web3, it's quite different, particularly enabling your users to become brand storytellers and kind of relinquishing that control. A perfect example of a decentralized brand is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not owned by one single company or entity, yet it is famous worldwide. And basically anyone who's owned Bitcoin has like a role to play in how that technology fares and how that message is spread. So next up, we've got tokenization. These slides haven't been updated, I don't think, unfortunately. But anyways, we'll release the updated slides, I think, after this. With tokenization, tokenization kind of underpins Web3 by kind of blending the physical and digital. And you can have a token that represents effectively anything. And this concept, even if you look at a Gucci bag, right? A Gucci bag isn't just a bag, it's a token that symbolizes that you belong to the Gucci philosophy, that you agree with the Gucci brand values, that it communicates a certain aspect of your own identity. And what's really interesting with brands and what they're doing in Web3 is this idea of token gating. So it's basically gating certain physical or virtual experience. So if you're an NFT holder or if you own a certain amount of social tokens, for example, you get exclusive access or benefits to experiences that you won't otherwise get. So to put this in context, AFL did a drop recently, and as part of being an NFT holder of their Genesis Ball collection, I'm supposedly going to get certain exclusive access to ticket upgrades, footy games, and being able to access certain members-only areas and stuff like that. So there's brands who are experimenting with tokenization and token gating in really interesting ways. Storytelling. Storytelling, humans have been doing it for centuries. It's embedded in our DNA. And storytelling, I think, is the key glue that holds a lot of NFT and Web3 communities together, and how you kind of communicate your own brand mission, your brand values, your brand voice, it's all through storytelling. And I think in Web3 there's some really interesting opportunities for brands to create immersive experiences. So kind of utilizing technologies like AR, VR, so on and so forth, brands can tell the history of their brand in novel and unique ways. A good example is Louis Vuitton. To celebrate the 200th birthday of Louis Vuitton, they released this game available on mobile, iOS and Android, and it consisted of these like 11 or so worlds, each kind of illustrating the history of the brand. And as like users navigated through those worlds, they could collect like certain NFTs And it was just a really interesting and novel way for brands to kind of be able to tell the story and history of a brand in an immersive way. Gamification. Nowadays, consumers are becoming way more experience orientated. They want to be able to interact, engage, and co-create with a brand and not just passively consume. So gamification is essential, and having that element of interactivity to try and engage your Web3 community. And NBA Top Shots, for example, they employ a lot of elements of gamification, like doing weekly challenges and so on and so forth, to get people re-engaged back into their Web3 community. Last but not least, sorry guys, I've been talking at you for like 15 minutes. User experience. This is a really key thing that I can't stress enough because a lot of brands tend to overlook it, and I'm gonna throw shade at AFL here. I don't know if any of you guys saw AFL's NFT drop, but it was fucking shocking. Even as someone who's like crypto native, knows my way around a wallet, knows how to send crypto here and there, it was painful. The user experience, they clearly hadn't tested it. They clearly hadn't accommodated for both crypto natives and people who are completely new to the space. And one thing I can't stress enough when it comes to the user experience, you need to try and make like purchasing NFTs or even just interacting with Web3 as frictionless as possible. Like what Reddit has done, like what NBA has done. NBA nailed NBA Top Shots because they kind of made it an e-commerce-like experience with like almost one-click checkout. And they also accommodated for both the crypto native and people who are completely new to the space. So make it frictionless as possible. If your grandma can't buy an NFT off you, don't bother. That's what I'll say there. Now, what is the metaverse? So, if the idea of Zuckerberg's dystopian hellscape of a metaverse makes you cringe and your toes crawl, great. That means that you probably embody part of the Web3 ethos and why we're here. So in terms of the metaverse, the way I see the metaverse is a lot of complex definitions. There's no kind of standardized definitions, but the way I see it is as the next step or evolution in how people connect virtually. And this is kind of driven by two key things. COVID-19 forced us all to migrate from working in office to working virtually. And so we've seen a kind of rise in like technical literacy. And the second thing as well is gaming. I think gaming is the dark horse that not a lot of people are expecting, because gaming is currently bigger than movies, TV, and music combined. And every Western child born today will be a gamer tomorrow. And so, yeah, with the metaverse, keeping that in mind, a lot of them are trying to enter into this kind of field because it's way less saturated than Web 2. I think a lot of brands are tired of not being able to cut through on like social media platforms without spending millions of dollars on Facebook and Instagram advertising. So that's partially what has all driven us to the metaverse. In terms of the Web3 ecosystem, anyone who's kind of looking to experiment with Web3, have a play around with these technologies. And there's a lot of different moving parts that kind of encompass the Web3 ecosystem. This is by no means exhaustive, but have a play around with different metaverses like Decentraland, Sandbox. You know, have a play around with virtual reality. On Cyber, they have virtual reality galleries. Even augmented reality, you can create your own like Instagram filters or Snapchat filters using Spark AR. Then you've got NFT projects like Bored Ape, CryptoPunks, numerous others, and then you've got marketplaces like OpenSea, Foundation, Nifty Gateway, and yeah, crypto wallets, self-custodial wallets like MetaMask. You've got exchanges like CoinJar and different blockchains which NFTs can be based off, like Polygon and Ethereum. So, last but not least, Web3 marketing mix. So I think this tries to summarize the key ways in which marketing in Web3 is different to Web2. So in terms of digital marketing, if your Web3 strategy doesn't incorporate Discord or Twitter at the very least, forget about it. Those two platforms are really essential for kind of building communities and getting Web3 projects off the ground. So think Twitter Spaces, AMAs, Mads can run through like community management on Discord. And then you've got Reddit, Twitch, and YouTube to a lesser extent. Crypto memes. Part of the reason why I love and hate this space is the memes, to be completely honest with you. Try and have a good understanding of crypto culture, and memes is a key part of that culture. And don't try and just slap some crypto slang on an NFT project and call it a day. Like, wug me. Like, you've actually got to embody the culture and the values of the space. Meta is introducing, well, it already has rolled out its digital collectibles feature to be able to purchase and create NFTs on Instagram. So I imagine that'd be a much larger part of the marketing mix in the future. And another big thing in terms of digital marketing is making sure you build out your email list, have a website that kind of captures like people who are interested in pre-sale, so on and so forth. And you can also advertise on Google search. Community, Mads can go over that in more detail, but try and think of ways that you can kind of incentivize or reward your early adopters, whether that's through token gating, I don't know, giving people merch, you know, retweeting people's memes, letting them become moderators, so on and so forth. And then in terms of collaboration, collaboration is a massive component, I guess, of Web3 culture. And I encourage anyone who's like thinking about, you know, entering the Web3 space, just collaborate. You know, everyone in this space is really open to working with one another. There's more than enough slices of the pie for everyone. So collaborate with NFT artists. You know, you reach out to marketplaces. There's a number of galleries in Australia. You've got Oshi Gallery here in Melbourne. You've got 2026 in Bondi. You've got Web3 agencies like Pixel Boss. Holler at Ivan if you want to try and create a Web3 strategy. And you've also got crypto exchanges like CoinJar who, yeah, we're definitely open to working with people and brands on their Web3 strategy. So, and you've got NFT Melt as well, who Rowdy helps manage. So yeah, thank you. That's my presentation. QR code if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we might run into Matt's preso.
Yeah. I think we actually have a break, don't we?
We have a break?
Well, there's a question.
Yeah,
Take five.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Just in regards to two things actually, gaming and crypto.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to the relaxed gamer that says, I don't want my gaming assets to be crypto because I just want to relax?
Yeah, I think that's a difficult part. But the thing is like, if you're buying Fortnite skins, for example, you want to be able to sell them and have like a marketplace for them, and for that to have value outside of that virtual world that you're operating in. And I think with Web3, it kind of empowers gamers to be able to, you know, trade whatever in-game assets that they're buying and spending thousands of dollars on, that, hey, this actually has a value outside of that community.
Yeah. Okay.
Is probably how I'd approach it. How would you approach it?
No, well, I don't have an answer for it. That's why I asked. Because in my gaming communities, they're very much like, I just want to chill, get your NFTs away from you, kind of thing. So it's interesting. I think in Web3 we have everyone should work for as a gaming assets, but we sometimes forget that the reason people game is to disconnect from work.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's why I think like part of like successful Web3 initiatives for brands is actually removing crypto jargon altogether.
Yeah.
And like removing NFTs, blockchain.
Agree, 100% agree.
Like a lot of brands rely on blockchain in place of an actual strategy. And it's like, blockchain isn't cool. Blockchain isn't sexy. That's just a glorified database.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So don't just slap that buzzword on it and expect it to sell like hotcakes, is what I'd say. Try and remove the jargon so people don't realise that they're interacting with the blockchain technology.
Great points. The second question was around Telegram. Do you think Telegram's actively used these days, or would you say it's dead? Because I feel like back in 2017, 2016, it was all the phase, and now all of a sudden we moved to Discord. Has Discord taken over, in your opinion?
I would say Discord definitely has a much greater place
in
terms of social channels. I personally don't use Telegram at all, like not even for the company or anything, but I guess it kind of depends on the brand at the end of the day, like where are your users?
Yep.
You know, if your users are on Telegram already, then yeah, sure, it makes sense to have them there, but if they're not, then it kind of sounds like a waste of resources.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Great presentation.
Thanks.
I'm Madeleine. You guys have probably seen me at events. I am the head of community at Deepwaters. I own part of the company. I'm actually the only female in the company, the only one under 30, and the only Australian. So yeah, it's kind of a flex, I guess. I have a lot of fun. My company is absolutely incredible. We're fixing a lot of the issues that have occurred in the last few months. So this last week, marketing-wise, has been fucking incredible. Not to make it seem less of an issue for everyone that is trapped. But anyway, I also run Luxus Consulting. I have been doing consulting and everything like that in Web2 for over a decade. And I'm now in Web3 doing it as well. I have been in crypto since about 2014, so you could say I am OG. Someone called me prehistoric before this. Yes, I am. I used to mine Doge and Monero on old MacBooks in my garage. I have been doing a fair bit in the industry for a very, very long time. Now we can go. So as Natalie said, and it's a line that if any of you have ever had a conversation with me, you will have heard it. Traditional marketing is top down and Web3 marketing is bottom up. What does that mean? It means that basically you're using your community to help lift you up. And basically you're only as strong as the people that are in your community. And so you want to absolutely make the most of that. So on the importance of community, one of the team's concerns was how will you build a community? Is there something you can attribute to success that I can take back to the team? This is from Nikhil from Struck Capital, which is a huge VC firm. We are still raising, me at Deepwaters and our team. So when this was said to us, I think we had about 1,000 people, not even in our Discord. We are now sitting, this is even outdated as of now, we're sitting close to 33,000 in Discord and 25,000 plus on Twitter. So, internal messaging. This shows. Oh no, sorry. No.
That's what you get for clicking.
That's what I get for clicking. This is internal messaging showing how important it was. This was what was just put on me. When I came onto the team, I was employee number 5, I believe. And we had 14 followers on Twitter, and I built Discord from scratch, finished it on Christmas Day 2021. OKX listening team, main thing they look for, community size. Now we just need to turn that into followers. That's what we're being judged on, community size. It is important, especially if you are raising. This is all they look for. Utilizing your community as a service. What do I mean by this? This is something that I offer to my advisory clients, but basically it's everything from a Discord build, community management, growth, and everything in between. But it also refers to the utilization of your community and its users and their skills and their networks. Your community is your own army of marketers and salespeople, and you need to use them. Hire mods from your initial helpers and engaged users. I had someone literally reach out and ask me, how do you choose your mods? You hired someone that had no experience and they are incredible, like how? I'm like, because I don't look at resumes, I don't look at CVs, I don't take people that are applying for a job. I look at the people who are in my communities, actively engaging, helping others, everything like that. At the peak, I was managing 500,000 people across communities, so I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. We had VCs reaching out and asking, everything like that. And yeah, after managing 500,000 people, I think I know a thing or two. Let's hit it again. Sorry. Where do companies go wrong? They're using their community instead of utilizing their community. This is a big one. You do not want to appear as if you are taking advantage of them. They will notice and they will turn against you, and I have seen it. We've seen it in NFT projects, we've seen it in DeFi, we've seen it everywhere. Appearing fake using terms like WAGMI, as Natalie said, this is the most cringe thing you can possibly do. If you're going to do it right. And preferably don't use it at all. I use GM in my announcements, and that's probably the extent of where I go from it. If other people in my community want to lean into that and use rocket ship emojis and everything like that, and we're going to the moon, that's fine, that's on them. I prefer not to. Substandard community building. I used to manage Sweatcoin, which a few of you have probably heard of. At our peak, 110,000 people in that Discord alone. I had a team of 8 community managers who are very, very crypto savvy and have been around for a very long time. That was an insane project to run. We did not build the Discord, we inherited it. It was not built to handle the influx that we got. So basically what happens is Discord and everything, the bots are rate limited. So when people started coming in, they were coming in thick and fast, the bots were failing to verify, which meant that a lot of bot accounts were getting through into the server. There was a lot of failures on that. It led to an eventual exploit after my team had stepped back down and were no longer managing. There was an exploit that allowed someone to get in, and on Discord you can purge users that are not active, and 40,000 people were purged from the Sweatcoin community. Not gonna lie, kind of was a nice sweet feeling because they really fucked us over. So that's fine. We're gonna go next. So Deep Waters, we're building the first exchange that preserves confidentiality and integrity of order flow from origination to fulfillment. Traditional information flows through the system should be confidential to all parties, including the exchange itself. So our order flow is encrypted and confidential between the point of origin, so the traders, and a hardware layer called TEE, which is a trusted execution environment. I'm not going to get too technical here, but TEE is very important. You're going to start hearing a lot more about it. Once orders arrive in the TEE, they're executed in a secure, encrypted environment that is invisible to everyone. Basically, all you need to know is we are looking out for the users, and this is why I said what's happened in the last few months with Voyager, Celsius, everything, and now FTX is even more of a reason why we're doing what we're doing. So we are non-custodial, everyone maintains their funds. Like what happened can never happen with us. We can't turn off the sell button, we can't turn off withdrawals. So it's very, very important. What this has meant is that we've had to do a big pivot. Anyway, our stealth building phase, you can see down here, this was all building. This is setting up for when I can flick this switch. So this was a really long stealth period, but we needed it because everything depended on when our testnet was ready to go, like everything like that. So, I mean, timelines kind of just don't really exist. You just have to go with whatever devs decide to do. Isn't that right, Chris? Exactly. So, our time at the time was about 500 members. I had built the Discord to handle an influx that, like what happened with Sweatcoin, mine was actually built to handle it. So with security in place and the infrastructure to handle that influx without being rate limited, when we did finally light the match, we had 25,000 people enter the server within 3 days. That is a lot of people. So, and I had my moderation team in place, I had everything ready to go. This was organic. There was zero ad spend on this. This is the power of community. This was all done via utilization of my existing community. So the results of this, we had VCs re-engage with us that had previously shunned us earlier due to our small community size. And we had fresh eyes that were now looking at us and becoming curious and actually reaching out to us to engage. And I'll cover how we did this in a minute. But you want to make sure you have a quality community build on the back end and not just the members, because otherwise this can't happen because there'll be a failure and you'll start getting botted and you'll get exploited. And we all know how many exploits occur in Web3. All right, Sorry. Yep. So this is actually just a little side note. This is part of what I go through with my clients. This is from my client in New York. This is one meeting of what I run through. So we've got growth hacking, community building initiatives, action items, what they need to do, what I need to do. I can probably release a little bit of this. Daniel and I were talking about it. There is a hell of a lot to it. So that's probably something that we can look at in the future. But this is how much goes into it. There's a lot in the back end. Community is not just, oh, let's build a Discord and throw some people in. It's not. There is a lot go into it, and then it's obviously planning your campaigns, planning everything around it. So, what led to this growth with Deep Waters? Next one. I had a 3-pronged plan, which was implemented and designed by myself, which includes incentives, channel funneling, and some secret sauce. Channel funneling is basically perfecting your flow between all social channels. So as Natalie said, there is so many. You've got Twitter, Discord, Reddit, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, everything. You want to be making sure that you are funneling from channel to channel. Because if you're, like, you might have a big Twitter, but if you're not actually getting those users somewhere else, it's pretty useless. So channel funneling, we want to perfect the flow. So I ran a referral campaign in Discord to match our testnet launch, and that was purely to grow our Discord users. So that's this one up here. And then I planned a viral tweet. So you can do a thing called intents on Twitter, which basically is like a pre-written tweet. And if you click that link, it will take you to that. So anyone that wanted to interact with my testnet had to tweet to be able to get their testnet tokens. Done. Means every single person who interacted with my testnet is marketing for me. This has worked insanely well. We had over, I think it was probably now 40,000 of those tweets floating around. And it means that people that follow them will then see that and go, what's this testnet? I want to have a look. Click on it. That's another user in. So that was just another free way for us to go viral, which was really fun. Then I utilized Premint, which is an NFT system, which I think it was the first time it's ever been used in DeFi. I'm not going to claim that, but this had conditions for people to register. So I said, okay, if you participated in our referral campaign and you invited over this many people, you then got a role, which was assigned via a bot in Discord, and you could go and register here. One of the conditions of registering is you had to follow our Twitter and you had to give us an email address. Data capture and cross-funneling. So, for those Discord users who are not following us yet, we saw big Twitter growth. I think we got 6,000 off of this small campaign alone. And this is just one sort of style of marketing that I use. But this 3-pronged approach was pretty much what got us 25,000 into Discord and 15,000 on Twitter in a matter of 3 days. So, next one. I think I've actually pumped through this way quicker than I expected. Sorry, back one. Yeah, so in Web2 you can generally plan things in advance. You can pretty much plan a year's worth of marketing in advance without much impact from the real world changing that. And that's pretty standard across most brands. They would normally be done in quarters. But in Web3, you need to be able to pivot hard and pivot fast with current events to be able to catch the wave before it's over. The Twitter cycle is short and it is brutal. So what we did, the situation with FTX, and this is an industry-wide shockwave, like this is big. So I created an airdrop. So whilst altruistic, I knew that it would have a net positive effect on our brand and our image because we are a solution to this. And it's also going to bring in community members who are needing a product after being wrecked on other exchanges. So I said, if you've been fucked up on FTX, if you can prove that you have an FTX account, I'm going to give you some money. We, as of yesterday, I didn't even look this morning, had 15,000 respondents. And basically, we've had an outpouring of love on Twitter, on Discord. I have not had one negative comment. Someone said it was like when you film yourself giving money to homeless people. We haven't had anyone, that was actually a friend of mine that said, are you worried about people thinking that? We haven't had anyone think that. All we've gotten is an outpouring of love and adoration from the community. We did not make anyone do anything. They didn't have to tweet us, they didn't have to do anything. If we had done that, it would have been a very different story and people would have been like, you're just using this for clout, rah, rah, rah. We did not make anyone tweet anything. And the result is that. So that is in less than a week. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty fucking impressive. Our engagement rate at the moment is sitting around 10%, which for 25,000 followers on Twitter, most companies and most even influencers are sitting at below 0.01, and we have 10%. Engagement is something that matters extremely, it's insane how much it matters in Web3, whereas it does not matter in Web2 at all. Does not matter at all. Engagement is one of the most important metrics you can possibly have. There's a few sites like Hawksite, etc., where you can actually plug in a Twitter user's name and view their analytics and view their engagement. You'd be very surprised, very, very surprised. It's also a good way to tell how many bots are following you and everything like that. We do regular bot clears, so this is genuine numbers, but this was off of just a couple of days. And there we go. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, I think I just come through that real quick. So if we do want to go back to anything or anyone does have any questions, please let me know. I'm always available for a chat. Both my websites there. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah?
This is probably more for the Deep Waters product. When you mentioned that you guys are encrypting the order books, you're not making that available. What about market makers? Are they not a thing for Deep Waters? Are you guys fully just a retail exchange?
We will have market makers, but basically it's not internalized. We're not internalized. So things like what happened with Alameda and how Alameda they had first dibs at what was happening on FTX order books. That can't happen with us.
Right, so you guys can't access your own order books, but can the market?
It's on a public order book, but we can't go in and say, hey, we're going to take this order before it's put in. Okay, we can't go in and see them.
Right. Okay. So from a market maker perspective, and for those who don't know, market makers are essentially big funds that are buying and trading on the exchanges that create liquidity in the exchange. So market makers can see the order books once every. It's fair game for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. But no, we can't go in and view it before it hits public, which is what happens on most other exchanges. Is you can actually go in and go, oh, I'm going to take that order because that price is better. Yep. Before it hits public. We can't do that, and no one can.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it just means it's a completely level playing field for everyone involved, whether you're a market maker or a retail trader.
Okay. So you guys are taking the encryption keys and chuck them away. Cool. Awesome.
Anything on the marketing side?
No, sorry, I went very.
That's right. I'm my brain's a bit teched out. Beautiful.
For you guys, you obviously the focus is Twitter and Discord. Do you use any other social channels?
I have every other social channel saved. It's standard practice if you are setting up a company. I've done this with a few of our friends. You go through and you register absolutely that handle on absolutely every channel you possibly can. My Instagram has just a template holder thing. It's got our link tree. It's got a few photos uploaded on it, but it's just to hold that spot so someone else can't take it and be an imposter later. We utilize Reddit a little bit, probably not as much as we should, but that will be changing shortly. We have a YouTube, which is where we upload videos of our testnet, etc. We have, what else? I think that's pretty much it. Our focus is just pretty much Discord and Twitter. It just depends on your style of project though. I mean, for us as a DEX coming out, we need to have that sort of contact that Discord allows with our community and people giving us feedback on testnet, engaging with us, telling us what they want. So that's the most important thing for us now.
Do you go through A/B testing of your posts and stuff like that? Do you test your post and how you?
No, everything I do is perfect. No, I'm kidding.
I guess how did you know not to with that last post about giving away tokens, how did you know not to try and growth hack it and try and make it repost and reshare? Like, what triggered you to?
I knew it would do it on its own. So that one actually did go viral, but it went viral on its own, and I knew it would. That's just after over a decade of marketing experience and just knowing that, like, if I'm trying to give something away to someone, I don't want to have to ask them to do something in return for it because it just comes off real bad.
Yeah.
And that's just, intuition and over a decade of marketing experience, I guess. I was actually surprised. I expected some bad feelings towards it, and we didn't get any. So that was actually really nice. I expected at least a couple people to try and have a crack, and they didn't. So, yeah.
You said you leveraged your other communities to grow new communities. What if you're starting from zero? How would you get started with the first couple of followers?
I did. It was 14 Twitter followers when I started.
Yeah.
We actually were paying a very, very expensive marketing agency about $15,000 a month, and they got us from 14 followers to 31. Promptly fired them and took it over myself. Basically, friends and family. Friends and family, always.
Mm-hmm.
They're there for a reason. Your early supporters, any VCs, any partnerships that you have. We are partnered with Polygon, Nia, Harmony, BSC, Wormhole, AVAX, and believe me, getting them to repost you is a fucking pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'd think if they're supporting you and they're giving you money, you'd think that they'd help you out a bit more. AVAX was actually the best. AVAX community has been absolutely incredible. They are very, very supportive. Yeah, these two are about to have a brawl. No, they've been absolutely lovely. So we're using AVAX as our solid state, and so they have been very, very, very supportive of us. But yeah, it's basically friends and family, VCs. You just got to like kind of beg and plead. That's what I'm going through with that New York client at the moment. They are extremely small. And I've just put them all on a mission to reach out to 30 people each, and just start getting it out that way.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Maybe couldn't get from that one.
Be me? No. To be honest, I'm still blown away every time I look at it. Like my predicted levels were closer to 3%. And I keep waiting for it to drop, and it just doesn't. And I think it's a mix of, if you go back a few, forward, this one. If you see how I do my announcements, I have calls to action. Actually, this isn't, I wish I could throw up the one I just did today. I have calls to action pretty much like after everything. So if I'm referencing in an announcement, I'll say, hey, we are wrapping up our community survey, and I'll link the tweet to the community survey. I'll say, we're doing this, and a link. And I'll say, we're doing this now, and a link. And basically I'm constantly referring back to those tweets, and then people are going back and engaging with them as well. People feel comfortable also like writing on our, they write us messages under our tweets, and I'll respond, or someone will. It's usually me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm asleep, usually one of my the team members in the US will. But we've created this sense of we are not this big monolith, and you can actually talk to us. But that was something that we have very carefully built from the very beginning. My CEO comes in the Discord, says GM, has a chat to people. They've made stickers out of him. Like there's one of like Einstein, but it's his face, and he's holding like our token. There's a few, as I said, I was talking to someone earlier, we've got a few fangirls and boys. They love me. My Indonesian community wants to do a meet and greet, which I find hilarious. My CBDO Dylan, when he comes in, they all say, hello, Sir Dylan. And yeah, we've just fostered that sort of very down to earth, where we're one of you guys' community from the very beginning. And that's why I believe our engagement levels are so high. because every member of our executive team comes in and has a chat. We get on spaces, we get on stages, bring people up. We've been doing that from the start, from when we had only 100 followers, so I think that's why.
There's always like a business forward approach when you'll see how it gets on there, or is it like
No,
more human?
community approach, always. He loves it. He will get on and absolutely ramble and tell stories about growing up in Soviet Russia, and it's quite funny, but he loves it. He loves the community, and he'll just jump on there without even like planning it or without any agenda. And I think that actually shows in when he's actually talking to people and when he's actually interacting with the community. You can tell he's there because he wants to be, not because we went, hey Zorik, this is on your calendar, you've got to be there. And that I think is a huge difference. And I mean, like my moderators are the same. I could have gone with a bunch of like spoiled moderators that I know from the US. We pay our moderators in token, our seed token, and in USDC. And then my admins are paid in both, and then my moderators are just getting token on launch. And I could have gone with a bunch of kids from Australia or America or whatever I wanted. One of my moderators is from Nigeria. His name is Tony. He's 40 years old. He only got his first computer last year. And he has spent that entire year learning crypto. And he is literally one of my favorite people in the entire world. And they appreciate it. Like, that's 500 US a month to these guys. That's a lot. And it's not because I'm trying to buy their loyalty. They had that already, and I just rewarded it. But that also makes a big difference. They are all in there actively. I've got people in Indonesia, I've got people in Nigeria, I've got some people in Britain. I've got our spread of our map of who's in our community is absolutely incredible, from absolutely everywhere. And that's something that, like I even have people just say, I don't want to moderate a position, but I'm going to help out in the Korea channel, language channel. Our language channels go off. Can't read anything, but I can tell they're having fun. That's all that matters. But we had that from the start. I had 12 language channels in there when I first built it, before we even had people talking in there. And if people go, hey, like we've got a big Turkish contingent as well. The Turks absolutely love us. They came in and just said, hey, can we help out? Can we translate this? I've got people that'll translate my announcements and post it into the language channels for me. And they'll just send me a message and say, hey, can you pin this? I'm like, yes, I can. So yeah, that's a big thing we've done from the start, is we just wanted everyone to feel included. And that, yeah, it's definitely showing in our results, so.
Is there a majority of like where your user base sits? Like,
we're pretty spread very evenly. Southeast Asia, China, Turkey, fair bit in the US. We can't actually sell our tokens to the US because of SEC. So we haven't really been pushing for that area. We have a fair bit of European as well though, so it's pretty evenly split. We still have a lot of US users that are wanting to use the platform, but that's, yeah.
I'm interested, do you think there was any kind of secret source in the sense of where they decide, like, you know, you being the only one in Australia, is the majority of the team in the US?
Yep.
Okay, do you think that there was a strategic play there to be able to engage more of the communities around here, because that's when your working time is?
No, previous projects like Sweatcoin, that's what we did. We had me on this side of the world with one other person on a similar time zone, and then everyone else was on US. And that was strategic because we needed 24/7 coverage. This was not planned that way. I mean, I was initially only just hired to build the Discord. And then I was brought on full time, and I've had 3 promotions and an equity offer since then. So it's it's been like, wasn't planned, it just worked out really, really well, to be honest. So that's that. No, it is something I consider when I am looking at hiring moderators, teams, community managers. If I'm placing a team in a project and not actually moderating myself, I will consider time zones. It is very important. You do need 24/7 coverage. So definitely something to consider.
Cool.
Anything else? No.
Work.
I ran some sponsorships for my corporate, and that was really about and creating the the language that I'm used to, sponsorship, in a sense, was that tool that you use to develop the community. Right? And then by association, right, you then built that sense of community, or you tried to. I don't think it was ever done particularly well, because it's, you know, it can be event-based, sports-based, the rest of it. So, you know, how Toyota and AFL connect, I don't know. But if you just stay there long enough and keep your brand there, then their hope is at some point you'll have you know, a community or a marketing database. And I don't think they ever got to community. I think they got was a database. And then they tried to mine the database as just you know, the sponsorship was a funneling, if you will. So what's probably most challenging for me is that bottom up and thinking about, all right, that sense of grassroots community, and I'm trying not to use the word customers. Most corporates look at that and go, how do I engage with that level of customer and deepen my, you know, relationship with those customers. So in a sense that helping myself define what did we really achieve through sponsorship. I think, you know, what's clear to me is it was a database that you would then mine. This is intended to be different. How do you continue? And maybe that's my experience is then. So as you start to grow and develop that community, how often would you continue to engage, and what are the sorts of things that help that community? Whatever combines them, what allows them to grow passion for that?
Fair. For me, so I do basically like almost twice weekly, but there's no particular cadence to it. I do it quite naturally. And that's when I would do like a community announcement and announce sort of our latest incentive, or if there's patch notes on our testnet, if there's anything like that, and just sort of touch base with them. And like, I could probably show you some examples later, but basically when I go in and I actually like announce things to them, there's usually a call to action and then there's an incentive, and that is generally how I run pretty much all of my announcements. Is there's sort of like, we're announcing this, I'm giving you guys this, can you do this? Like, and it's that very much sort of mutually beneficial sort of thing. And I think especially if you're coming from a corporate background, that's probably a really good way to look at it, is sort of like, okay, well if I need this from them, what am I going to give them? And I think the other thing is like with me, with my frame of mind, so you're saying, oh, well that's a database. I go, okay, well that's my community, that's literally a living, breathing database right there in front of me, and if I foster that, that's building my database on its own. And that's exactly what we've done. So for an example, that FTX airdrop, like that was me giving back to the community. I'm looking at those people as actual people, but as a result of that, I've gotten the company now nearly 20,000 emails and names and wallet addresses, which are even more valuable. So that was like still a huge data capture, but done with community first.
Yeah, I think looking at it as more of a give and take and what value you can provide your users at the end of the day, whether that's through incentives, bonuses, or whatever, instead of just a constant take relationship. Because I think that's one of the biggest issues in Web3 is that it is this top down, it is this looking at your customers like a source of revenue and just like an income stream and dollar signs and not actual people. And I think when it comes to fostering community, like aside from what Madeleine's mentioned, you know, storytelling, communicating your brand values. You know, at CoinJar we've got like a lot of long form content with like just kind of insights and our perspective on everything like that's happened recently in the crypto space, and that helps to kind of be the glue that kind of sticks everyone together. Culture, you know, I think you have an amazing culture that you've helped foster at Deep Waters.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's through memes, whether that's through just simply communicating and chatting to your customers, making feel like they're valued, you know, that you actually value their feedback.
Yeah, and like we encourage it. We encourage them to pay us out. Like there's memes, like they've made memes about me in there. They've made memes about my CEO. Like we love it, and we reward them. Like we've got this is something that like people underutilize, but like in a community like Discord, you give people roles, but they like people want them. Like they'll work hard to get a role. And so we've got like meme lord. So if you make a meme that makes a member of the team laugh, you're gonna get meme lord. But then what that does is also creates user generated content, and then I can post that on Twitter. So we've got the same thing. We've got a meme channel, and then we've got a creators channel. So if people want to create artwork, I've actually got our brand guidelines and our logos, our PNGs all pinned in that channel, and people are actually creating content for us. Like,
That's awesome.
who needs a graphic designer when I've got an army of them? So it's kind of things like that are really underutilized, and yeah, it's all user generated content. I mean, we're in the time of user generated content. There's a reason why TikTok's absolutely blowing up and why brands that are using it are doing so well. This is that, but on a Web3 level.
I think when you utilize Web3 approach, the principle is building in public. That's a different take. Because usually the top up is, this is our story, this is our narrative, and we're not willing to change it. You just have to succumb to it. Whereas Web3 is, we're thinking about going down this route before we press go on this massive campaign. What are your thoughts? And then it's reflecting, saying, all right, let's go to the next step, stage 2. What are your thoughts? And providing the story around that is a different approach to the one-dimensional, this is the only narrative that we're sharing.
Also, when you look at like the example you gave about AFL and Toyota sponsoring something, that to me anyway is brand awareness. Like that's not building community. Like community building in that would be they invested in the AFL at a grassroots level and then fueled that with fucking lots of amazing experiences that benefited the consumer directly, not the media buyer and Channel 9. At the moment, that's the beneficiaries of that's the sponsorship is the club, the media buyer, and the broadcaster. Whereas
and Toyota have done a much better job in the last couple of years of vertically integrating. They have now got their grassroots footy. They've got campaigns to support local football clubs, trying to draw down, if you will, from that level of sponsorship. But that's only recent. They've been sponsoring the footy for 25 years.
you're Ford. So what about Toyota for?
They have done a good job of that though, and then those little mini me characters in their TV ads.
Yeah.
So, you know, where I think connection with the brand was all about adult connection and being, okay, you see Toyota enough, you go and look at them. But now I think now they're trying to capture that younger market and have people aware of the brand and then grow with it.
Yeah.
We did have a few other notes where I'll bring this up. So we were going to see, because I mean we've got an actual Q&A session at the end. So this was more for us to run through with you guys, like things that are actually like to do with your projects and things that you might be building now. Did you want to?
Yeah. So again, one of the key points of my preso is don't do an NFT project just for the sake of doing it. Don't contribute to the digital debris that's already out there, thanks to Walmart and Pepsi among others. So we kind of came up with a checklist to see whether there are alignments between Web3 and your own potential brand, product, service. So this is with a B2C focus. There are applications of Web3 in B2B context, maybe more around VR and stuff like that.
So something like what Ivan's building, like that's an example of a B2B, like how we discussed at the focus group. Like yours is B2B, but like majority of Web3 stuff would be B2C.
Yeah.
So
another key point on the checklist is innovation. What are your key brand values? So if you look at LVMH Group, you know, innovation has always been a key part of their brand values. That's why they've been able to develop technologies and like artisanal products that they have patents on and so on and so forth. And that's why luxury's gone so heavy into the Web3 space and adopted Web3 because it reflects their brand values. Does your brand have valuable intellectual property? Do you have history, the narrative, coming back to the storytelling point about your brand or how it kind of came about? Budweiser did a really interesting NFT collection. So the company was founded in 1936 and Budweiser released 1,936 NFTs as part of a collection illustrating the history of the brand, the iterations of the logo, so on and so forth. Could your brand do something similar and illustrate the history of your brand and your intellectual property? Are you a digital native brand? Like, are you very orientated towards digital marketing, like social media, e-commerce? Do you have an app? If you are a digital native brand, it lends itself quite naturally to Web3.
It's a lot easier to implement that as well because you kind of already have that base, that foundation to leverage.
And following on from that, are your customers somewhat digitally savvy? If you're selling life insurance, probably best to not get into Web3. Although you could tokenize life insurance on blockchain.
Yeah.
Is scarcity a key element of your product structure? With NFTs and tokenization, it lends itself quite well to scarcity. And so if you're like a luxury brand, for example, that has like limited releases of certain products, that could potentially lend itself quite well. And do you allocate a significant portion of your marketing budget towards experiential marketing or brand building? I think one of the greatest potential of Web3 when it comes to brands is experiential and brand building. There's been few examples like Nike and NBA that have done really commercially well, and it's actually generated like a solid revenue stream for the business. But initially, for any sort of brand's Web3 strategy, it won't be something that's going to be generating revenue. You should go in with the assumption that it won't be, making all these millions of dollars just right off the cuff, right? It's more of a customer acquisition play. I know AFL's drop when they had the allow list or register your interest, for example. I believe 50% of people who signed up and registered their interest at the AFL, they actually weren't on AFL's database whatsoever. So you've got like a lot of the crypto native audience coming in. So yeah, I guess now we kind of want to throw it back to you guys with kind of everything that we've touched on today, and I guess provide personalized advice. Like, what is the affinity between Web3 and your personal brand?
It's your chance to use some like free advisory time. So if you do have something that you are working on, you've got some questions. This is when I won't charge you. The one time. So yeah, I guess it's, if anyone does have anything they want to ask on, or if you have already got a strategy and you just want to find out if like you're sort of on the right track, this is where you can do that. No one's working on anything. Fun group.
Well, I'll pull out I'm going to take this free kick. But, again, with the Pixelboss platform, I know.
I'm going to yell at you for 2 hours.
What we're doing is obviously a big machine. It's going to take a long time to build, and what we want to start building along the way is community. Back to we know the importance of that. So what we're kind of looking at now is how we develop PFP NFT projects, except we will inject them with crazy amounts of great utility, so it doesn't just go plonk and dump. In terms of building those fundamental sort of, networks in order to create strong engagement, what would be your recommendation there?
I mean, the one thing for you that you have going for you in this case is there is like a sort of a passion play, or you can tug at heartstrings. Like yours is like, is this specifically for villains or yeah? So I mean, fuck, it's endangered animals. Like, who isn't going to want to support it, sort of thing. Like, so I think building that community and making sure it's people that are genuinely caring about animal conservation. That's going to lend itself quite naturally to an engaged and helpful community. That shouldn't be too difficult. The thing will be keeping them engaged and keeping that sort of rolling over. And so you're going to actively have to sort of go in there and poke them and get them to do things for you. And that's where doing things like incentivizing stuff comes in handy. And there's a few different things. I mean, the boys, obviously, NFT APAC, I should say, are using Shuttle Bay. That's actually really cool. I wish that was around when I first started doing communities, because absolutely awesome project. Really, really cool, makes my job a lot easier. Yeah, no, they're absolutely fantastic. We're actually, Deepwaters is actually partnering with them soon as well. So, but that's really, really cool, and that kind of thing will be very helpful. And so that's where something like a social token does come in very, very handy, because you can say like, hey, you can get some like red panda tokens if you participate in these bounties and help us get our marketing out there. And that kind of thing is really, really valuable. And that's how a lot of our stuff has been done. So like for us, Delve is our social token. Delve has no like monetary value at all. It's only as much worth as we sort of make it seem like it's worth. But we've been very clear about that, like everyone in our community knows. And because social tokens were not like a normal thing when we launched this, so there was only one other community that I'd worked on, and that's how I like knew what I was doing. But I haven't seen it in any others. So it was a very new thing. My bosses were like, this is pretty wild. They're like, what do you mean we want to give them a token with absolutely no value? But the thing is we're going to eventually, when we go to mainnet, we're going to do a one-to-one conversion. So, and no one knows this, but like, we're going to do a one-to-one conversion. Basically, you're going to get our mainnet tokens for if you hold our social token as a reward to our community.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's actually something that like I have planned from the beginning.
So can we start mining some social tokens?
Actually, if you go and interact with our testnet, you actually will automatically be part of the snapshot. So if you go and interact with our testnet,
I just gamed it then, you guys just didn't see it.
but that's the thing. So we've been doing it for a lot of things. We've been doing so if you interact with our testnet V1, I did a snapshot this morning, and that airdrop is going out tomorrow. If you interact with our testnet V2, there's also another one. I have now got a bounty going where if you retweet our new testnet 2 video, you'll be able to claim social tokens for that. I just checked on that just then. There's like 300 retweets in like, I think it's like 2 hours, not even. So like this is very effective and all for zero cost.
Wait, can I ask a question? Because I'm learning here too, guys. In terms of being able to track like the person who's interacted, like the smart wallet address, interacted with the mainnet, and then how do you link that person to like the retweet?
So there's actually I use a couple management tools for my social token. I have a thing called Coinbase, which is actually has a plug-in. I shouldn't even be telling you guys this shit.
Don't gate me.
Valuable. And there's actually a way that you can plug that in, and it connects to the Twitter account. So if they want to claim it, it has to be logged into the Twitter account. So then they can claim it to their wallet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I fucking blew some minds with that one this morning when I put it out there. Everyone's like, how are you going to manage this? I'm like, don't even sweat it. I've got this.
And does that help you with privacy laws as well? Is that's the
Yeah, the beautiful thing is like you don't have to worry too much about like wallet addresses and stuff like that when it comes to like data privacy, but like because so for the FTX airdrop, for example, with that I have full names, I have emails, I have like account details, I have things like that. That obviously then comes under like strict data privacy, and because we are still US registered as of the moment, we're switching to a European registry soon. But yeah, for the moment, like I have to be very, very strict with that kind of thing. So even if I wanted to, like we have to go through that and delete duplicates and delete stuff that's obviously bots. I can't send that off-site to be done. So that's actually gonna have to be a team effort. We can like automate it to some extent, but so there's some grunt work involved with that kind of thing because people are always gonna try and game the system. The thing is you just need to know how to game it back, which I do, luckily. Otherwise there'd be a lot of hours of man work being put into that. But there's a lot that I can do to stop that kind of thing happening. And that's, you're gonna have to consider that in every single thing you do. Like if you wanna say, all right, I'm doing a referral program or I'm doing this. So let's go with a referral program, for example. If you're doing that, you have to make sure you have extremely high bot security in your server, or you're just gonna get botted from people trying to farm tokens. Like that is the number one thing people are going to try and do, is they're going to try and farm. And so you need to have things built in place to prevent that. And so I have extremely high security and bot focused stuff in my server. And if a couple do get through, they get booted straight away. So that's the biggest thing. Because otherwise it's just going to be a bunch of like bot accounts trying to claim tokens. And that's not what you want, because they're not actually engaged. So I think that's, again, goes back to why my engagement levels are so high. And sitting above 10% still is because they're actual users. A lot of the time when you see these accounts that have like 100,000 followers, but there's only like 30 people liking their tweets, it's all bots. And they've either paid for them or they've been botted, which then actually pushes their engagement lower because Twitter can tell and will actually fuck you up with the algorithm. So it's something that I've protected very, very carefully, is that engagement, because it means that we do get pushed higher because of that. Sorry, that just went through like 4 different things in one. That's just how my brain works. You're gonna have to deal with it.
But if you're outwardly communicating to your community, at what point do you cover off the permission from the customer, from the community individual, that you can communicate? Is that
I don't think they need to do that, because there's no PII information at that point in time.
Okay.
It's just Twitter handles and wallet addresses.
Yeah.
So if it was their full name and address and stuff like that, then there'd be something.
Yeah, well, that's why I wasn't sure.
So so for the FTX one, what we're going to do is send out an email. They've obviously willingly submitted that email. We're going to send them an email saying you are going to be able to claim these tokens, bang, and send it in that. For the thing like with my Twitter one, because they're using their Twitter accounts, all they have to do is verify that that's their Twitter account, and that's how they're going to be able to claim the token. I'm not actually outwardly messaging them. So there's a bit of a difference there. But all that kind of stuff is obviously like, because it's all done via literal social media platforms, it's not so much of a worry as if you were doing like huge like email marketing campaigns and everything like that, because they're willingly interacting with me. I can just respond.
With like phishing links, how are you guys combating that to make sure that that link doesn't appear as a scam? Or is it just
We don't really use a lot of links. We pretty much run everything through Twitter because we can rely on that security. Well, I mean, we could.
Particularly with the email.
Email, we don't really send emails.
But for that claim token.
Oh, for the claim token system?
Yeah.
That's a dev job. That's the question for this man.
I can't answer that. So well, it's my masterclass. No, so there's some settings that you can set in your email registrar and your DNS, known as SPF records, and that then says that you have to have a good level of integrity when you send and receive, and your devs can set that up for you.
Sorry, was that SPF or
SPF records.
SPF was that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Is that because devs like this? You're locked in a room all day. Yeah. So there's things like that that's like all pretty easy to get around.
I think what Daniel's actually talking about is on Twitter, now you can buy the blue check mark. Someone could go be like Deep Waters blue check mark, buy it, and then put that link in there to get the airdrop, come to my testnet, and then get completely drained, once they connect their wallet.
I mean, unfortunately with Twitter doing that, there's very little that we can really do. The thing is, we have trained our community, because a lot of them are very experienced with testnets. A lot of them are airdrop hunters and testnet hunters. Incredible. Indonesia, these people are fucking switched on. Like, they are in these projects from the very start, and they have a lot of like very nuanced skills and stuff like that. Like they won't even generally click through the Twitter, like they'll click through Discord. That's something I can control, is my links through there. And obviously that goes back to making sure your Discord build is stable, getting someone to audit them, like that knows what they're doing, cybersecurity experts in the house. That kind of thing is really, really important. But beyond that, I mean, Twitter's kind of fucked that for us, haven't they? So
it's a free-for-all.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing we can do is just tell people to make sure they're using our official links and double-checking things and double-checking handles. Funnily enough, we haven't had any fake accounts yet of us, which is weird for crypto and for how many followers we have and how big we actually are.
It's got starting by, isn't it?
No, not, please. But yeah, we actually haven't had that issue yet. We are prepared for it if it does come, but yeah, it's one of those things where unfortunately now that Twitter's gone and done that, it's only a matter of time. But as I said, we've made sure we've gone through and gotten all of our handles on everything else, and we just are very, very careful with how many links we are posting and how we are sending them to people. So
within the Indonesian audience, this is more of a selfish question around APAC. You said nuances, like they're very skilled in particular nuances. What did you mean by that?
Basically, like it's really, really hard to explain, but they are obviously like very good English speakers. They understand that, but they also they are a very strong community in themselves. They seem to help and circulate things throughout their Indonesian community a lot more than I see with like even us here in Australia. Like when we're close, nothing like these guys, and like just Indonesia has like the most amount of people like per capita. It's like it's very dense, and they are obviously like it's not like is it a third world country? So I'd say it's a third world country. But the people that are in crypto, like I've seen photos, like they post photos of their villages, and these people are rolling around in like fucking brand new cars, and the rest of the place just looks like shit. Like these people know what they're doing because they've been hunting airdrops, and they're like a lot of them are
Is it
very
through like
big
alpha groups,
OGs.
you reckon, or through?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure it out. But like yeah, like they're posting pictures of like fucking like good cars, and the rest of the village just looks like bombed out, and then like they're all just rolling around because they've been like hunting these airdrops and hunting really early projects and just sharing it around to their groups. It's really, really wild.
It'd be interesting to find those underground PFP projects or alpha groups that are closed or private. Because
if anyone speaks Indonesian, you can jump in on Deep Waters and have a chat to some of them. Because there's fuck lots of them, but yeah. But no, they're really, really cool. Yeah, as I said, one of them, like a couple of them want me to do a fucking meet and greet. They're like, if you're
Let's
ever
take
in
that up.
Indonesia, I'm like, alright.
Let's do that.
Which is kind of fun, so
Are you good with the tool manager?
Yeah. Maddie, I've got another question. I guess another selfish question for NFT APAC. You see what we do, you're familiar with our Discord and stuff like that. What do you think the gaps are in terms of like marketing?
Oh, I already told Dylan the other day, so I was like, what happened to a general channel? Why don't we have a general channel anymore?
Yeah, it's something we're testing out.
You know, I was like, did you not see? I was like, do I have to like go into the other channels and like metaphorically piss in them to assert dominance? Like, I don't want to go into the Gold Coast channel. I don't want to go into the Gold Coast channel. I want to stay in Melbourne, or I want to be in general. If I have Melbourne specific things, I'll talk in the Melbourne channel. But there needs to be a general. I'm sorry, there needs to be a general channel. It really set me off.
What else?
Just being nice there. I mean, you guys don't have any like really custom stickers or emojis or anything, do you?
Custom emojis,
We got a couple,
stickers
not
coming.
much.
Yeah. Because the other thing is like if you've got people interacting in other communities, like posting stickers, because if you have cool stickers and someone's using them in another community, that person clicks on it and then they're gonna see what community it's from and they can click join. Like that's actually something that like I've made sure to utilize in ours. We've got a couple of really cool stickers and really cool emojis that we use, and people definitely use them in other communities, which is kind of cool. So that's just another thing to consider, especially when you guys do have people that are virtually wandering around NFT communities all over the place. Like if they start helping you market for them, I mean, it's going to be pretty easy. But I mean, I think what else? The restructure has been good. I haven't actually been in there too much, I'll be honest, since. But from what I can see, it's literally just a general channel. And then there was something else.
What are you guys doing?
I'm not going to tear Discord apart in front of you.
Merch? Yeah, we're getting there. When merch is coming.
When merch?
When merch.
Would it be NFT APAC, NFT Mel?
Yeah, some coming out on Tuesday.
We've got some on Tuesday. NFT Fest.
Oh yeah, you need to move tweets up into information as well.
What do you mean?
Can you just send us an email with...
You want free advice with fucking cheeky fuck.
No, I appreciate it.
Oh, you got one more question each. Go.
No, I guess one thing that, like, I mean, we've identified a few gaps with it all.
Yeah.
I think one thing is like growing the Twitter stuff, you know, like using Shadow Bay, we're big Slack on Twitter Spaces, and for anyone who doesn't know what Twitter Spaces are, you should definitely capitalize on them. They're huge for growing.
Do you find value? Like, I mean, I don't really find value from them.
You're doing, most of it is just talking shit.
Yeah, and that's.
But there are some really good ones. There are some really good ones.
Yeah.
But you have to set the tone in a Twitter space.
Yeah.
You have to set a topic, and then have built a discussion around that. Right?
Yeah.
And then engage with the audience that way.
So we utilize that. We obviously utilize that. We have my CEO and stuff jump on, and like we'll generally have my CEO and one of the our head dev come on and actually talk about sort of updates to testnet and talking about like what we're doing moving forward and everything like that. And that's been really effective. But I also don't see it really converting to like the bottom line is obviously we want users the same way you want customers, same way you guys want members and people at events. I think for what you guys do, it's obviously a lot more beneficial because it's like personality thing and it's all that. For us, it's obviously good because our community hears us listen, but we are probably better at utilizing Discord stages rather than Twitter Spaces. Just when it comes to that conversion, I think. But it's project to project. I mean, these things there's no copy paste for Web3. Every single project is different. You've got to treat it differently. So that's definitely
School run.
One thing that we experienced when I was at Blockbid, a startup crypto exchange for those who, well, actually I dare say no one knows of it. So, and marketing for us, or community engagement was quite a hard thing. What I noticed from a dev perspective was expectation management was crucial. So what is it that you've learned at Deep Waters, CoinJar, from an expectation management and release management schedule with your devs? Do you guys wait until the devs have gone through testnet before you publicly announce something? Or, because that was one thing that sunk us, was poor expectation management of community.
Nah, so like obviously that's pretty much my job. And a lot of yelling at devs. But it's more like we try to get a rough schedule, and then as we get closer to those times, actually confirming, and that's where I say, do you need more time? If you do, tell me now so I can do something in the meantime to keep engagement, or are we good to go ahead? So that's what we had to do with this one. So originally our expected time was the 19th, so we're actually ahead of schedule for testnet 2.0, which is, I literally did not think we needed to have it out before Thanksgiving, because obviously then it's like a lot of users offline, a lot of people in the company offline, everything like that. So we did say 19th, and then it's obviously gone to we have a staging as well. So a lot of people that are not devs probably won't understand, but you have like your staging ecosystem, and then you can push to your actual prod. So we've actually now utilized a smaller group of our community that have proven to be really, really good sort of testnet users. We now have them as QA testers, and they're in a separate group, and they actually have access to staging, and they get to test things before it goes to full prod.
And that's when you then make your decision whether you're going to go public with that announcement.
So, and then that's when I say to my devs, right, QA testers have been in, they think it's fine, and then that's when we can confirm that it's ready to go to public. And then that's when I can write my announcements and everything like that, and then that's when I can announce. And then obviously if it's being pushed back, which is obviously really, really common, then I can go, okay, right, well, I've got all of these things banked, all of these incentives, all of these sort of campaigns banked, let's pull one of those out and use that in the meantime.
To keep people engaged.
To keep people engaged,
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, from CoinJar's side, we're quite a mature company. We just ship updates every week.
Right, so you guys have that you've got your iteration planning down pat, and you've got their flow, and the community just expects that, right?
Like we're also actively building off of feedback. So like if people go, hey, like I don't like this button, I think it should be grayed out once it's been pressed. Like we'll actually do that and put that into production, which is really, really cool. So like our people that are giving feedback and everything like that are actually seeing a lot of what they are saying reflected in these updates, which is really, really cool.
So like in GitHub community, GitHub being a dev playground or product builder, people would upvote whether or not a feature should be done. Do you take that on board?
We literally use a thing called feature upvote.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
It is literally called feature upvote. So people can either go in and vote on other people's ones or add their own.
Yeah.
And they can upload photos if they're having issues with stuff.
So cool.
Yeah, it is really, really cool. So we've been utilizing that. My executives originally only expected 700 people for the testnet. I gave them 25,000. So initially, our feedback was done via a Google form. We realized very, very quickly that that had to be changed to something a lot more manageable. So we switched to using feature upvote, which has been very, very effective. And then now, because it has to be like the comments and stuff have to be moderated and then moved into different things. So I've now also got some of my mods tasked to going through that and moving those and making sure that that's actually all being categorized and like removing duplicates and actually putting things to the devs that need to be. So I've utilized them to do that. Then there's other mods working on other things, like, and this is what I mean, like that literally becomes like employees, they're your team. So you want to make sure that you're actually getting good ones that you trust.
Rock on.
Boss.
I think you've given us more than enough. No more.
No more free advice.
Good.
For anything
No,
else, you can pay me. No.
It's fair.
Love it.
Yeah. I think we've got a break time, and then we've got some. I think we've got more Q&A, don't we? We've got,
Well, I think that's love. I think you've
Q&A,
given us
yeah.
plenty.
hell yeah! All right.
Otherwise, we'll just keep fucking having you.
Fucking network then.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for coming in and thanks for providing.
Ah,
This
that's
was
awesome.
definitely a test for Pixel Boss in terms of Masterclass to see what would be the use case for the physical space.
Yeah.
One, it being a NFT club, an NFT gated club,
Yeah.
whilst also open to the public. It's this dance between having it open yet private and inviting speakers in and just testing the space to utilize it.
And to provide you guys some feedback, this is probably the second thing that I've been out to. This is like a really homely like vibe, and it's very good for these kind of discussions. So yeah, well done to you guys for.
And I think the physical aesthetic of it gives it to one being that it was a home.
Yeah.
But two, it's like subconscious mind that it's like
I
home, like
think it's really
couches.
good.
And
I mean, typically I'm very closed off, and I'm open to asking all the questions now. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 pop.